Hi, my name is Madeline, and I work for the town of Braintree on stormwater. When I was your age, I loved playing in the rain. I used to create tiny rivers in my playground so the rain would stay off my foursquare court and my friends and I could play. Now that I'm all grown up, I still play in the rain, but I like to protect more than just my foursquare court. I want to protect the whole town. It may be easy for you to imagine how rain might play on your blacktop or on your playground, but it's harder to imagine how that rain might flow over the entire town of Braintree. To help you imagine that, I have a tiny replica of the town or a model.
Here is our tiny version or our model of Braintree. Here is Sunset Lake, here is Pond Street, here is a neighborhood that you might live in, there is a golf course that your parents might like to go to. As I pointed out, there's a lot going on in Braintree. We have roads, houses, people, golf courses, and many other things going on. All of these activities generate pollution. Now, what comes to your mind when I say pollution? Some of you might have imagined dirty water coming out of a pipe. This is a type of pollution, and I call it point source pollution because it can point to the source. For example, here in our tiny Braintree, you might have a factory having dirty water coming out of a pipe. And so we call this point source pollution because you can point to the source. So it's this pipe coming out of this factory, going into the river, creating pollution. However, there's something else going on too. And it may be a little harder to imagine. In addition to point source pollution, we have something called non-point source pollution. What do you think of when you hear that? It's a little confusing, but some of you might have said that you can't point to this pollution's specific source. As I said before, there's a lot going on in the town of Braintree. We have people who have dogs, like this house right here, and this person isn't picking up after their pet. You can see all the little dog poops all around on their property and in the street by their property. And here you have someone who is putting a lot of chemicals on their lawn, and way more than they need. Right here we have a construction site where this truck is helping to build new homes. And these activities are also using some chemicals, but also creating some dirt right here that's piling up at the construction site. And back to the golf course that I mentioned before, they're having a similar problem to these people right here, where they're putting too many chemicals on their lawn. Now, how does all of this pollution end up in Sunset Lake? Well, here, let me show you what happens when it rains. When it rains, the water pushes the pollutants into the street and into rivers and into Sunset Lake. It also channels it into storm drains, like right here, and then that storm drain takes the dog poops into Sunset Lake as well. And as it keeps raining and keeps mixing all of these chemicals and pollutants and dog poop into the road, into the stormwater infrastructure, and into Sunset Lake, we create a really gross mix of things. So, something I really want to point out here is that it doesn't just go directly from the road into the lake or directly into a river into the lake. It also goes through something that we call a storm drain, which I pointed out before. And the storm drain actually connects areas that might be pretty far from the water to the water. So there's a hole right here that connects to a pipe and goes into the lake. Now, so you can get a better understanding of this, I'm going to show you what this looks like in real life.
As we just saw with our model of Braintree, storm drains, which I'll point out in a second, connect directly to a pipe and then take that water into natural water features like Sunset Lake. So here is Sunset Lake. Here's the parking lot. Here's the beach. Here's the gazebo. And in the distance, you can see Sunset Lake. So the thing I want to draw your attention to is right here. Now this is the storm drain I was talking about. Let's get a close-up. So as you can see, it's basically a sheet of metal with all of these little holes in it. And these little holes conduct the water from the parking lot into an underground pipe. And then that underground pipe connects with something that we call an outfall, and that goes into the lake. So as I demonstrated with the model, there are lots of other things that could go into these holes of the storm drain besides the water from the parking lot. Now we saw chemicals and unbagged dog waste going into a storm drain in our model, but you can also have things like trash, such as these discarded utensils, this dog poop bag, or other commonly seen items. And these, if they're small enough, will go through the holes and then go directly underground in this pipe and out to this outfall. Now, to give you a close-up of what this looks like, here is the outfall. So you see it's a pipe coming from underground and then directly into Sunset Lake. And as you may be thinking, any of the pollutants or trash or chemicals that came through the storm drain and into the pipe will end up in Sunset Lake. So they'll come out of this pipe that we call an outfall into Sunset Lake and pollute the lake. That's all pretty gross, right? Well, the good news is we can all take responsibility to reduce water pollution in Braintree. And one big way we can prevent this type of pollution is through building awareness in our community. And it's important to notice that the storm drains across the whole town, not just the ones at the Sunset Lake and by other water bodies, actually connect directly to water bodies through pipes. And so wherever you are in town, it's really important to be aware of any pollution that can enter storm drains. And one great way for you to understand how pollution could end up from your home or from your streets and into our water bodies is through the Clean Water Scavenger Hunt. During Earth Week, the Thayer Library will be handing out our Clean Water Scavenger Hunt as part of their vacation activities. I hope you have fun and safe adventures, and remember, only rain down the drain.